Switzerland has the highest average wealth per adult on Earth. Yet right now, only about 36% of Swiss households own the home they live in. Compare that to Romania, one of the lower-income economies in the European Union, where roughly 94% of the population lives in an occupied home. Think about that for a second. One of the wealthiest populations on the planet has one of the lowest home ownership rates in the developed world. That sounds completely backwards. In the United States, in India, in China, buying property is treated as the universal finish line of adulthood. It is the core vehicle parents tell you to park your money into the moment you get a stable paycheck. Most people dismiss this paradox with lazy explanations. The Swiss just prefer renting, or it's simply cultural. But culture doesn't emerge out of thin air. The real reason Switzerland looks like this comes down to institutional design, a ruthlessly conservative banking system, rock-solid tenant protections, and a tax concept dating back to 1880 that can make mortgage-free homeownership less tax-efficient. Switzerland proves something profound. A society can build extraordinary household wealth without ever turning homeownership into the default path to financial security. And the tax rule that helped shape the economics of Swiss homeownership is about to disappear. The idea dates back to 1880, when Basel City introduced taxation of the rental value of owner-occupied property. Over time, that principle became part of Switzerland's broader tax system as the Eigenmietwert, or valeur locative in French. In plain English, it is a tax on rent you never collected. Here's how it works. If you buy an apartment and live in it yourself, the tax authority calculates a theoretical rental value, what you could have earned if you rented that property out to a tenant on the open market. That fictional income is added directly to your taxable gross income every year. You didn't receive a single franc, but you are taxed as if you did. Now, why would any government design a tax like that? Originally, it was intended to create horizontal tax equity between renters and owners. Since landlords pay income tax on actual rental revenue, the government reasoned that living in your own house gives you a financial benefit equal to free rent. But here is where the equation gets complicated. To balance this tax burden, Swiss law allows homeowners to deduct two major expenses from their taxable income: property maintenance costs and mortgage interest. This creates an unusual financial dynamic. If you carry a large mortgage, the deductible interest can offset part of the imputed rental income. But if you pay down the mortgage, that deduction shrinks or disappears while the imputed rental value remains taxable. Paradoxically, paying off your home completely can make your tax treatment significantly less favorable. And that unusual tax dynamic helped shape how Swiss homeowners approach debt. In most Western economies, the goal of taking out a mortgage is simple: pay down the principal until you own 100% of the asset. In Switzerland, the tax code created a very different incentive. Swiss mortgage financing is traditionally split into two tiers. A second mortgage, covering roughly 13% of the property value, which typically must be amortized within 15 years or by retirement age. A first mortgage, covering up to around 67% of the property value, which banks frequently allow homeowners to leave unamortized over extended horizons. Because mortgage interest remains deductible against income and wealth taxes, some Swiss homeowners deliberately choose to keep substantial mortgage debt for much longer rather than rushing to pay it off completely. Instead of locking up large sums of capital inside the equity of their walls, they pay the ongoing interest, claim the applicable tax deduction, and maintain liquidity for other investments. For some Swiss homeowners, debt is not simply an urgent burden to eliminate. It can be used as a deliberate balance sheet tool. If the system provides tax incentives to borrow, why doesn't every Swiss resident rush to buy property? Because Switzerland's regulatory and banking system sets a remarkably high barrier to entry. In major economic hubs like Zurich, Geneva, and Basel, buying an ordinary apartment can require well over £1 million francs. To even get a loan approved, the 20% equity rule. You generally need at least 20% equity. By regulation, only up to half of that, 10% of property value, can be drawn from your occupational pension fund, Pillar 2. The remaining 10% must come from your own liquid assets. The 5% stress test. Even when actual mortgage rates are far below that level, Swiss lenders do not test your solvency against prevailing rates. They assess affordability using an imputed conservative interest rate of around 5%, alongside estimated maintenance and mandatory amortization costs. Under those calculations, total theoretical housing costs should not exceed roughly 1/3 of your gross household income. Under these strict affordability formulas, purchasing an urban home requires not only substantial liquid equity upfront, but also a consistently high household income just to clear the stress test. It functions as an institutional filter that restricts market entry primarily to higher earners. If only 36% of households own their homes, who owns the rental stock? Contrary to common assumptions, it isn't an oligopoly of mega-corporations. Federal data shows that private individual landlords own roughly 57% of all rental apartments in Switzerland. Institutional investors, such as pension funds and insurance companies, account for about 22%, while non-profit housing cooperatives and public entities hold roughly 21%. Swiss pension funds hold direct exposure to domestic real estate. When Swiss workers pay into their retirement systems, those funds deploy capital into residential housing to generate long-term yields. That makes Swiss retirement capital an important institutional investor in the country's rental housing market. And because renting is so deeply established in Swiss society, tenancy laws provide notable structural stability. Evictions are strictly regulated and legally difficult without solid statutory grounds. Rent increases are not dictated purely by landlord discretion. The official federal mortgage reference rate, Referenzzinssatz, serves as a major benchmark for rent adjustments, alongside inflation and certain verified cost increases. When tenants are legally protected and can remain in the same home for decades without being forced to move, renting stops feeling like a temporary compromise. It functions as a viable long-term lifestyle. This brings us to the core financial debate. Does renting actually hinder wealth creation? The answer isn't uniform across the country. In rural areas and smaller towns, buying can often be more cost-effective over time. In dense urban centers like Zurich and Geneva, renting frequently remains the more flexible financial path. The crucial takeaway is about opportunity cost. When a household isn't required to lock up hundreds of thousands of francs in illiquid property equity, that capital remains available to be deployed elsewhere. Broad market diversified financial assets, tax-advantaged private retirement accounts, Pillar 3A, education, career mobility, or business enterprise. By keeping capital liquid and diversified rather than concentrating it into a single illiquid physical asset, households can maintain financial flexibility while building net worth through alternative channels. Switzerland demonstrates that home ownership is not a universal prerequisite for financial security. What matters is the ability to generate strong income, maintain a disciplined savings rate, and deploy capital effectively. For decades, Swiss politicians attempted to reform this system and failed. But on September 28, 2025, Swiss voters approved the property tax reform with a 57.73% majority. The country split across regional and linguistic lines. German-speaking cantons largely supported ending the system, while French-speaking cantons and Basel-Stadt voted against it. And the timeline is now set. The Swiss Federal Council has confirmed that the reform will formally take effect on January 1, 2029. This transition marks a structural turning point in Swiss fiscal policy. When the reform takes effect in 2029, the imputed rental value system for owner-occupied homes will be abolished, while the tax deductions that currently offset it, including mortgage interest deductions, will also be significantly restricted. This dual change fundamentally rewrites the tax incentives that shaped the economics of Swiss home ownership for generations. Will Switzerland gradually see higher home ownership rates over the coming decades? Or will high property values, conservative lending standards, and a deeply established rental infrastructure keep the status quo intact? Only time will tell. But Switzerland has already demonstrated that a nation can reach the pinnacle of global wealth without making home ownership the only path to get there.